Okay, we are on Gimel Amud. Where am I? Gimel Amud Beis 3b. The Gemara kind of brings up a new discussion now. It's right over here. Amar of Chizda. The Gemara makes a number of comments on the effects of promiscuity. Right, because we're on the topic of the Sotah, and the law of the Sotah is all about proper conduct between husband and wife. So the Gemara raised a number of comments in this regard. Says the Gemara, I'm going to read the comments as they are and translate them literally. I try to put some thought into perhaps what a deeper meaning to these things might mean. I haven't really come up with anything really concrete, but obviously the floor is open as always. So Amar of Chizda said, Znusa bebeisa, promiscuity in the home, kikarya l'shumshima, is like a worm to sesame, like sesame seeds. Basically destroys it all from the inside. So I don't know the analogy, but I mean this is what the Gemara says. That destroys the home like worms destroy sesame. Okay? Amar of Chizda says a similar statement. Tukfa bebeisa, anger in the home. Anger in the home. Kikari l'shumshima, the same thing. Destroys the home like a worm destroys sesame. So Chizda is equating the destruction that promiscuity brings to the home that anger does. That in and of itself is something to think about. Anger, the connection between anger and promiscuity, how they both lead to the destruction of the home. Then the Gemara says, both of these things, these statements just made, that promiscuity destroys the home and that anger destroys the home, is bi'itza is primarily said about the woman, about the wife. Av begavra, but with the husband, although it's bad, less lamba doesn't have the same kind of detrimental effect to the home. So the simple reading is that because the woman's, or let me rephrase that, because the home and the integrity of the home primarily rests on the shoulders of the woman, therefore her promiscuity or her anger will have a more detrimental effect than the husband's. That's a simple reading. Perhaps we can go a little deeper and say, even though this is true, that the Gemara is talking about the wife who is behaving promiscuity or getting angry and the destruction of the home, the Gemara here is talking to you and me. So what's the message for the husband? Just to find out, what happens if the wife misbehaves. So perhaps this goes back to the beginning of the Gemara, where the Gemara tells us that a person's given a wife that is appropriate for him, and that if he's going to get to the point where he has to warn his wife because of the law of the Sotah, he has to look in the mirror. Right? That's what Reish Lakish told us at the beginning of the Gemara. So if that's the case, then perhaps we can apply that here too and say that if it's true that a woman's anger or promiscuity can lead to destruction of the home, then it is incumbent on every husband to make sure that he takes care of his wife so that she does not find herself in a predicament that would lead her to promiscuity or anger. And that as a husband, we have to look with as husbands, we have to think about, not just the effects of what we do on our wife as an individual, but the effects that the way we engage with our wife has on the home as a whole. Because her happiness and her stability is what's going to keep our home happy and stable. So that's one level. Perhaps thinking of something else on a little more spiritual level, maybe. Right? We talk about how our relationship with Hashem is like husband and wife. Earlier, we learned about the Sotah, for example. The Gemara told us that a person would never sin unless a spirit of foolishness comes into him. Right? Because we're married to Hashem, and sin is kind of like a infidelity, and thus no one would ever do such a thing unless the spirit of foolishness came into their minds. This was all learned from the Sotah. So perhaps then the Itza, the woman who has to be worried about anger and promiscuity, is us. The woman is us. We're the wife in this relationship between us and Hashem. Hashem is Gavra. Hashem is the husband. And the Gemara is not saying that anger and promiscuity is not a problem for God, but that it doesn't exist. The faithfulness from Hashem to us is steady. Consistently, waits for our return. Slow to anger, as the expression is. And Hashem is consistently faithful to His love for us. And the question is if we respond in kind. So perhaps that's on a more personal, more spiritual level. Okay. Amar Chizda further stated, B'tchila, at the beginning, when the Jews and Hashem were together, after the Exodus, I assume that he was talking about. Kodim Shechata Yisrael, before the Jews sinned with the sin of promiscuity, the presence of Hashem resided amongst every Jew on an individual level. The verse reads, for God your Lord goes amongst you in your camp. And there it's written in the singular, in your camp. That is to say, each individual Jew had the presence of Hashem with them. Because as a whole, the Jews were not behaving, were not behaving promiscuously. But even shechatu, once the Jews did sin in this manner, the presence of Hashem left. As the verse reads, this is a forewarning, lest you have a manner of promiscuity amongst you, and God will turn away from you. So once the Jews did do that, this happened in the desert already. Rashi doesn't identify exactly like the time frame for this, but it already happened in the desert where the Jews were behaving promiscuously with the Midianites. So perhaps this is what it's referring to. Although again, Rashi doesn't say specifically what the time frame is for this. But once the Jews did behave this way, in the presence of Hashem is removed from them. So not only does it destroy the home from the inside, if God forbid there's promiscuity, but it also causes for the presence of Hashem to leave one's home. Now the Gemara goes on to say a few statements about mitzvahs in general. Rabbi Shmuel bar Nachmani said in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, mitzvah achas, anyone who does one mitzvah, ba'olam hazeh in this world, mikad masa, I think it's pronounced that, it precedes him, ba'oleches lefanav, and goes in front of him, la'olam haba, in the world to come. So this is to say a person, actually Rashi said mikad masa means it goes ahead of him and announces. So a person has a mitzvah in this world, and as the person leaves this world, the end of 120, that mitzvah goes ahead of him and makes an announcement in heaven. So-and-so is coming, and he's coming with XYZ mitzvahs. Makes an announcement. It opens up the doors for him as he gets into heaven. These mitzvahs precede him to make announcements for him, to announce his arrival. Shenemar, as the verse reads, your righteousness goes before you. Now conversely, continues Shmuel bar Nachmani, anyone who transgresses one sin in this world, it envelops him or enshrouds him. And goes before him, bringing him to the day of judgment. As the verse reads, their ways take them in, and take them into to vanity, to waste, to purgatory essentially. And there he gets lost. Okay, so this is I'm going to make a couple of comments on this Gemara in a moment, but I just want to share what the Gemara says on this literal level. So the first statement here is from Rabbi Shmuel bar Nachmani that a mitzvah precedes the person in the world to come and announces his arrival. And then there is the sin which enwraps the person and brings him to judgment. Okay, this is Rabbi Shmuel bar Nachmani. Rabbi Lezer says, the sin sticks to him like a dog. Like a dog sticks with its master, tied to his master. So is sin tied to this person. Shneimar, as the verse reads, this is a verse when Yosef HaTzadik is about to, he's being seduced by Potiphera, right? He's being seduced there. And there the verse says, as he says no, he didn't listen to her. The Shachav Etzla, to lie with her. Liyos ima, to be with him. So there's a double expression here. He didn't listen to her to lie with her. And then it says to be with her. Right? It's redundant. The Shachav Etzla liyos ima, to lie with her and to be with her. So explains the Gemara. The Shachav Etzla, he didn't listen to lie with her. Ba'olam hazeh in this world, meaning physically not to engage with her. Liyos ima, to be with her. Le'olam haba, in the world to come. Because had he been with her in the physical world, and then he would be with her in the world to come. That act would stick with him even in the world to come. So in his refusing to be with her in this physical world, in effect, he was refusing to be with her even in the world to come. Okay, so I just want to make a few comments on this Gemara. First of all, what's the difference between the two statements of Rabbi Shmuel bar Nachman and Rabbi Lezer? It seems like the only difference is Rabbi Lezer says it's like a dog, rather than what? Rather than envelops the person. What's the difference if it envelops him or it's like a dog? I'm not sure. I'm just putting this out there. Also, another thing, the Gemara says earlier, anyone who has one mitzvah, it goes in front of him and announces his arrival. Anyone who has one sin, that one sin envelops him and drags him to the day of judgment. So what if a person has multiple sins and multiple mitzvahs? So he has announcements, while simultaneously the sins are enveloping him. So it would seem, right? It's not as if a person lives and only has one mitzvah and one avera and that's it. But the Gemara seems to be saying, a person does one mitzvah in this world. Right? And I was hoping that Rashi would say what this mitzvah is. Like, what's this one mitzvah that he's talking about? But doesn't. Rashi doesn't say anything. Which would seem like it's any mitzvah. So I'm not 100% sure on all of this. But I'll just share with you what Chassidus, specifically, this is from the Marash, says about heaven and hell and the world to come. And perhaps that will help us inform us as to what's going on here. But I haven't fleshed this out all the way. So I don't know exactly how what I'm about to share with you is going to explain this Gemara. But I'll share it with you because it's on the subject. And I think it will help us frame this. So we refer to the world to come often as the world of truth, Olam HaEmes. Right? So what is this? What does the world of truth mean? What do we mean when we say truth? So just to use a simple example, if a person, let's say, I'm walking down the street, I'm sure this happens to all of us, and you say good morning to somebody. And you don't think much of it. You say good morning because you're a polite, nice person. Now, if you were to find out the truth, that the person you said good morning to had a terrible night, hypothetically, terrible night of fighting and who knows what, all kinds of trauma and stress, and he's walking down the street in the morning, about to do to himself or others serious damage because he's lost hope in humanity. And then you said good morning. And now this person's faith in humanity has been restored. Now, if you knew that that's what happened when you said good morning, I don't think you'd have a greater pleasure in your life. So here's a simple moment, but you found out the truth, and now you're in heaven, quite literally, right? You're taking in great pleasure. And the same thing's true in the reverse. If God forbid, not you, but somebody else, God forbid, somebody theoretically failed to say good morning to this person, and then this person went on to do the damage that they was planning to do. So is it your fault that the person did the damage? No, that person has their reckoning with Hashem. But at the same time, if you found out that you were capable of stopping it and didn't, it'd be very, very painful. And essentially, that's what heaven and hell is. Heaven and hell is to experience the truth of every moment. And if the truth of a moment was a connection to Hashem, what can be more joyous than that? If I truly felt and understood the depth of the connection I have to Hashem when I wrapped tefillin, there's no greater pleasure. And if God forbid I were to feel the pain of what it meant to disconnect from Hashem in one moment, that's hell, the most painful of all experiences. That's the way Chassidus understands what heaven and hell look like. And it explains the Mishnah, which says that the reward for the mitzvah is the mitzvah itself. Because the mitzvah itself, that connection you forge with Hashem in that moment, is the reward. That's what you experience in heaven. And the punishment for the sin is that moment of this detachment. So I again, like I said, I don't know that this is helping us understand this Gemara any better in terms of the questions we ask, but I think that's a good framework to start with. Maybe that's why the Gemara says mitzvah achas, one mitzvah. Because even one moment of truth, connection to Hashem, is worth everything. And even one moment of disconnect is as painful as anything. It doesn't have to be, one might think, a conglomerate, is it 60-40? What's the ratio of sin to mitzvah? That's the way people think of it often. What's my ratio? Mitzvah to sin. And the Gemara here is saying, no, it's achas, one mitzvah. One mitzvah does it. One moment of connection to Hashem, if it's true and real, is worth the whole world to come. And one moment of detachment from Hashem could, God forbid, be the opposite. Perhaps. Okay, the floor is open again. I want you to think about this and
just want to
share with you what you think. Yeah, go ahead.
Like the world to come is the time I'm thinking that it's a time of revelation. We'll see the truth.
Yeah.
And just going back to what it was mentioning earlier about the sesame seed.
Yeah.
Where inside out, it could appear that from the outside, the sesame seed still looks that it has
I see.
no problem to it. It looks good, but it's been
sucked out of all its juice,
eaten out from the inside. So it's not revealed that there's anything wrong with that sesame seed.
I see.
Until you actually go to eat it, or it's revealed that it's hollow. It's just a shell. It's and also with this promiscuity and anger business, it looks from the it's a subtle problem that can increase over time. In the beginning, it's not a big deal. I had some anger or some minor promiscuity, but it builds and builds and builds until it could get out of control, and by that time, then you see the rottenness of the thing. Anyway, I just want to add those.
So, in other words, in its first stages, it appears like everything is fine until the truth is revealed and you discover that it's not fine.
Right.
Don't they say that a mitzvah carries on for 1,000 generations?
Yeah. So that's what it seems. Mitzvah achas, even one mitzvah. Yeah. Yeah, 100%.
I saw that in the Chumash.
Yeah. Okay, actually, the Gemara is about to begin a new section, which is going back to a previous discussion. So I think even though it's a little earlier, I'm going to stop over here because we're going to open up a new section of the Gemara that goes back to something we talked about earlier, 2 witnesses, 1 witness, and all that. And that tomorrow, actually, I don't think I'll be able to be at this year tomorrow morning. So we're going to continue, God willing, on Wednesday. Wednesday morning we'll continue. Tomorrow morning I won't be able to. I have something else going on, but God willing, on Wednesday we'll continue. Okay. Wonderful to see everybody. Good morning,
hey,
Robert.
everybody have a great day.
Wonderful day, everybody.